We turned the tables on a greedy landlord, and it was glorious. Gazapping occurs when an agent or seller accepts an offer from a buyer at an agreed price, but then sells the property to someone else. This typically happens when the vendor sells the property for a higher amount. This happened 15 years ago and is one of the proudest moments of my life. My best friend and her husband have 5 children together. They lived in an expensive city and rented a rundown old 4-bedroom house for $400 per week. The house had a disgusting kitchen and stinky drains, but it was all they could afford at the time. Still, they made it work. The owner was a kind old lady who was extremely wealthy and very fond of my friend. She froze the rent for 5 years and promised to let them buy the house once they had saved enough to get a loan from the bank. She had helped others in similar situations, so my friends trusted her and saved every cent they could. After 5 years, they finally told her they were ready to buy. 2 days later, the kind old lady passed away before anything was put in writing. Enter the new owners, the lady's 4 children, each extremely wealthy in their own right, inheriting a vast portfolio of properties. When they first spoke to my friends, they assured them that the sale would still go through, but they would have to wait until probate was settled. Confident, my friends began making changes to the house. They stripped wallpaper, painted, and made plans. Finally, when probate was settled, the owners agreed to proceed with the sale at the previously agreed price. However, my friends were shocked to find that their loan application was refused. The owners had raised the asking price by $80,000 without informing my friends. To make matters worse, the house would be put on the open market. In 7 days, there would be an open house, and given the market conditions, it would probably sell immediately. My friends were devastated. They might be able to borrow enough, but needed more than a week to secure the funds. Additionally, property prices had soared recently and rents had increased significantly, while their rent had remained frozen. Finding an affordable place with more than 2 bedrooms would be nearly impossible if they were evicted or faced a rent hike. I was scared for my friends, but I was also incandescently angry. Those greedy individuals were some of the wealthiest people in the city. They were screwing over a struggling family for less than $20,000 each. They didn't need the money, it was pure greed, and it was clear they had always planned to do this. While my friends scrambled to come up with the money, I started plotting. I researched strategies for making a property undesirable without making my friends look like bad tenants. First, we decluttered the space by moving all the furniture away from the walls, adding extra pieces, and borrowing ornaments. We hung motorcycle memorabilia on the walls to make the place feel smaller. Next, we worked on the smell. My friend boiled a head of cabbage on the stove, and we sprayed ammonia around the front and back doors to simulate the scent of neighborhood cats marking their territory. We also poured 24 rotten eggs down the drain to create the smell of sewer gas. For the neighborhood aspect, we obtained a moldy old couch and placed it in the front yard of a nearby neighbor with permission, of course. We also called on friends for help. Anyone with a loud, clunky car was asked to drive by repeatedly during the open day. The street became unusually busy, with everyone we knew finding a reason to drive past. Additionally, we enlisted some mates from the rugby club, many of whom were large men. The next-door neighbors set up a barbecue in their front yard, and we provided free food and cheap beer. They arrived on motorcycles, wearing their roughest gear, creating quite a crowd. Many people showed up for the open day. Quite a few went in and out within minutes. One lady sat in her car, watching the party next door before driving away. The only man who lingered was brave enough to strike up a conversation with someone leaving the gathering. He asked if they often had parties like that and learned that after parties occurred every couple of weeks, with the previous night's event just 3 doors up. He was also informed about the troublesome drains that frequently got blocked by tree roots, leaving an unpleasant smell. The potential buyer left without making an offer. As a result, my friends were the only ones to make an offer. Although they still had to pay more than they had initially planned, it was less than what the greedy owners wanted. My friends signed the papers and paid the deposit that day. So when another buyer put in an offer $30,000 higher than my friends, there was nothing the owners could do about it, thanks to strict anti-gazapping laws. I would have loved to see the owners' faces when they found out. For those who say they had cheap rent, they didn't. $400 was the rent in 2004, and that was quite high at the time. By the time the lady passed away, average rent for a house that size had only gone up by about $40. Nowadays, 4-bedroom houses in that area go for approximately $800 per week.